So let's go ahead and create a new comp. I'll call it transitions, keep the aspect ratio 16:9, 30 FPS, and click OK. I will drag some footage. For the first transition, I will just use some stock footage, as you can see, and I want to blend these scenes. I got them in Pexels. It's a free stock footage website. So what I will do is I will start by creating a blur transition. This is one of my favorite ones. To create it, you need to go right here, right click on new, and go on adjustment layer. And adjustment layers is the way that we're going to create most of our transitions. How do adjustment layers work? Well, as you can see, when you enable them, this icon is going to be clicked and you want it to be ticked. And if it's ticked, basically whatever effect you apply on this layer, it's going to be applied on layers below. So if right now I search for fast box blur and I drag it on top of my clip, as you can see, I will have my effect control right here. And if I increase it, both of my clips that are below my adjustment layers will be affected by my blur. Instead, if I go ahead and drag a clip on top, for example, this clip is not going to be affected. That's how simple adjustment layers are. We'll use the adjustment layers to color grade later in another lesson. But for now, let's focus on this transition. So I'll go at the moment where the clip ends. Right here, as you can see, there is the clip change. If I go one frame backwards and forward, I will go on my adjustment layer on effect, fast box blur, and I will put a keyframe, and let's put this blur at around 50, and then I'll go 3 frames backwards and I'll put it on 0, and then I'll go 1, 2, 3 forward where I was, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 forward, and I'll put this on 0. And as you can see, if I now go full screen, you're going to see this transition, which is perfect. It's pretty subtle, as you can see. It can be really useful. Now, when it comes to our transitions, we will almost only use keyframes because that's the best way to do it. And let's now go over another type of transition, which is not a blur, but it's a flash. So you can use this where you want to simulate a picture being taken, a screenshot, all of that cool stuff. So to do that, let's go ahead and remove this adjustment layer. This time I'll do this with a solid, and I will choose the color to white because that's the color of which our flash is going to be. I will put our solid right here. I will go in the middle. I will go on white and click T so that I can bring the opacity control. And I will put a keyframe on 100, and then I will go 1 frame backwards, and I will put the opacity on 0. So that, as you can see, it appears from nowhere. And then I will go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 frames forward, and I will drag it to 0. And as you can see, this is what happens. There is this flash. However, this might not look good for you, as maybe you're trying to have a darker vibe to your edit, and having a full frame which is completely white might hurt the eyes of the viewer. So to avoid that, you can go right here on the blend mode, and instead of normal, go ahead and click on overlay. And as you can see, this is what we have now. We're going to have this flash, which is noticeable, but it's not going to be completely white. It's just going to have this kind of flash, as you can see. And you should always top this off with a sound effect of a camera shutter. You can find them on YouTube. Another transition that is commonly used is if I go on keyframes this time, we don't even need any adjustment layers. I can just do some opacity keyframes and reduce it to 0, and then go ahead and bring this from 0 to 100. This is a common transition that you find, and as you can see, it just creates this black fade. However, there is a better way to doing this that I really like more, and that is, instead of using these normal keyframes, using an effect called gradient wipe. So if I go ahead and drag this gradient wipe in After Effects, and I drag it right here and right here, I can go ahead and go on Effects, Gradient Wipe, and then I can go forward until right here, and then drag this. As you can see, this is what happens. It's going to disappear like this. I'll put it to 100%, and then I'll make it softer. And making it softer means that basically this is what happens. The light disappears slowly. I'll make it a bit longer. And then I'll go on the second clip. I will go on Effects, Gradient Wipe. I will bring this to 100, keyframe on both. And I'll go forward to bring this to 0. And then I'll go around in the middle and check how much I want the softness to be. I'll do around 50. And this is how it looks now. As you can see, there is the gradient. As you can see, the gradient makes it disappear like this, which I like even more. And that's perfect. You can use these fundamentals of using the effects and presets to do basically any transition. You could also go ahead and create a new adjustment layer and drag on the CC lens. This is another transition that I sometimes use. So you go right here, right before the clip ends, you go on the lens and you put it back to normal. So 500. You click here, you click on effects, CC lens, and then you click a keyframe on size. You go forward, and right here where the clip ends, and you decrease this a bit to around 250, let's say. And then you go forward and you re-increase this to 500. And as you can see, this is the effect that you have. It's really subtle. If you want it to be even more visible, you can bring this down to, let's say, 150. And now this is the effect that we are going to have. It's way more visible. You can drag this even to 100 if you want, although I don't suggest to make this too noticeable like this. I usually prefer more subtle transitions. And that's how you do transitions. And one last thing that I want to talk about is how to create a color grade transition. And let's just say that I want to do a comparison between this image, which is the original, and this one because I want to show how good I am at color grading, for example. I'll show you how to do all of this stuff later. Don't worry, right now I just want to show you that cool transition, that white transition that people do to show the before and after. And the way to do it is by right-clicking new shape layer, and then you're going to draw a line. Make sure to hold shift so that the line is straight, and then you can choose something like a black color. And then you can go right here and you click on P for position, you drag the line around here at the start of your clip on the left, and then you go on the clip that is on top. So in this case, it's the one with the orange flowers, as you can see. This is the clip that is on top. I will go ahead and click on the pen tool, and I will drag a line right here where the line that I've created is. And then I will finish this by creating a mask like so, as you can see. And now I'll go on mask and click on invert so that I can have the orange flowers on the right side of this mask and the yellow flowers on the left side. So what I will do is now I will simply go right here on mask and create keyframes on everything and create a keyframe on position of this line exactly here as well. And then I will go when I want my color grading transition to end. So let's say it's there. And I will place keyframes everywhere. And what I will do is I will drag the line over, so something like this, and then I will click on the mask and I will actually drag this over as well. And now we'll check how this looks. And as you can see, the mask is going too fast. And that's because what I want to do is I want to have this part right here, like so. So I check if now they're going at the same speed. As you can see, they are. And as you can see, they are going at the same speed. You can zoom in to check. They're going at the same speed because they've started and they will end in the same spot, and they go at the same speed. And then actually the square was too small. So I will go back to my mask here and I will click on the mask path, and then I will go right here and add a point to my mask, and then I will drag it over. And then I will add another point right here and drag it over. As you can see, we now have this transition where this black line changes the color grading, which is pretty cool. You could actually go ahead and make this reverse. So I'll actually copy my mask and then paste it here and then remove it right here. I will drag this layer below. So as you can see, what's going to happen is the exact opposite, and the orange flowers are going to be discovered right now instead of the yellow ones. Just up to preference on what you want to do. And before leaving, I'll show one last transition that it's pretty cool and I like it. So I'll remove everything. I will change my comp settings to HD social media portrait aspect ratio, so 9:16, and I'll drag in this zoom transition that I want to have between this clip and this clip right here. Now for this transition, I want it to be a zoom transition. And the way to do zoom transitions isn't to create an adjustment layer, because adjustment layers do not work with transform properties. So if I increase the scale, as you can see, the scale of this clip is not going to be affected. However, it does with null objects, which is what we have seen in the last lesson. So if I go ahead and link both of the clips to the null object, and now I go right here, right before everything happens, and I drag the scale in, and then I click a keyframe, and then I go forward in the next clip and drag the scale out, something like this. And then I go back into this clip and I increase the scale, something like this. Although I do not place any keyframes, I just want to make sure that it fits the whole screen. This is what's going to happen. As you can see, we have a zoom out transition. I'll space the keyframes and replay this. As you can see, there is the zoom out. I really like this. I will make sure that the zoom out is even stronger, so something like this. And then I will highlight them both, click on F9 so that I easy use keyframes. You can also once again go right here on keyframe assistant and easy ease. And then let's check the transition once again. It's really smooth, as you can see. I really like it. I'll highlight them both and go in the graph editor though, because I want to increase the speed in the middle. As you can see right now, the speed is minus 1000% per second. I think this is good. Let's go ahead and play this now. And yeah, I think this is really smooth. I'll play this in full screen, as you can see, and I really like this. To make it even better, we go right here and add the motion blur, and as you can see, this is what's going to be like now, with the motion blur in the middle, which makes it even better. So I'll replay this once again, and as you can see, this is the final thing that we have. So we're done with this lesson with transitions. I'll see you in the next lesson where we'll talk about rotoscoping and how to add stuff behind a person, which means squares, text, all of that stuff.